Hey, good afternoon. How are you? This is Andy. I'm excited to be with you this afternoon. Hey, let me tell you something. Do you know what motivation is? So I did some research for us today, and I think that I can pull it up here on my screen in a minute. But I did some looking up in definitions and I got some college level stuff and I got some hour level stuff. Not saying that you're not college level if you are or whatever, but you know that when you were in college, if you went to college or even in high school and you had all these clinical scientific definitions that meant a whole bunch of stuff to a lot of people, but not necessarily me and you. I got some of those definitions and I got some of our kind of definitions anyway. So let me just give you some info that I found. What is motivation? The reason or reasons one has for acting or behaving in a particular way. That is what motivation is. Well, so if you believe everything that everybody says, some people postulate, there's your college word, some people say that the root of all motivation is thought to be pleasure and pain. Now, it looks like I may have just gotten messed up. Am I still there? Let me see. Yeah, I'm still there. Okay. Anyway, all motivation is thought to be pleasure and pain. So here's some examples. Motivation that is driven by pleasure includes survival needs, food, shelter, clothing, accomplishment, you feel good, school, career, sports, etc., fun, partying, dancing, playing at the beach, fishing. That ain't on here, but I'm throwing it on. Hunting, especially dove hunting. Taste, curiosity, laughter. And I'm going to stop because they get into some PG stuff there that I don't care about. Here are some of the most common examples of motivation driven by pain. Fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown, fear of uncertainty, fear of failure, and fear of change. So, there's some good and bad stuff there. So they say everything, all motivation is either because of pleasure or pain. Maybe. And then there are three types of motivation. Now, I agree with this. There's extrinsic, doing an activity to attain or avoid a separate outcome, which could be being paid to do a job is an example of extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic is an internal drive for success or a sense of purpose. An example of intrinsic motivation would be reading a book because you enjoy reading and have an interest in the story or subject, rather than reading because you have to write a report on it to pass a class. That's good info to know. In fact, that's a great example. You know, many of us read all kinds of stuff, the Bible, to learn more about God's Word or to learn how to apply it to our lives. And that's a great intrinsic motivation. And I certainly agree with that one. All right, and then there's family motivation. An example of family motivation is you're being motivated by the desire to provide for your loved ones. So those are the three types of motivation. Speaking of which, I heard a great story of family motivation this morning, in fact. You know, so when I'm doing my exercise, when I'm rucking, I'm either listening to fast-paced Christian music or I'm listening to teaching of some type. So this morning I heard a story. It spoke about a mom who wanted to get her baby, her toddler, I guess, out of daycare and into mom care. And she figured out that it only would take her $300 a month to get her baby out of the daycare and back home with her. So it means she didn't have to work a part-time job or whatever. If she could come up with $300 a month, she could stay home and the baby could stay home with her. And that was her motivation. That was a good example of family motivation. Anyway, she did it. So she started a part-time home-based business and ended up being a multi-gazillionaire because of that. Her last name was Taylor, and I forgot her first name, but Mrs. Taylor. And that is some great motivation there. All right, so here's why we're here today. Some great motivational quotes. Are you ready? I've got a whole bunch of them on this document that I researched and prepared for you. And you have seen artwork with all these motivational quotes. Speaking of artwork with motivational quotes, let me see if I can get back over here. Oh, I got to move myself down there. All right, let's look at this. I did this myself. Aren't y'all proud of me? You ought to be. Because anytime you take a motivational quote out of the Word of God, it's going to be good, especially when you put it up there with a good picture. I ought to sell that thing, huh? Take off my extra stuff. Anyway, back to me. How do I get back to me? There I am, transition. All right, so here we go. How about some motivational quotes, right? Believe in yourself, have faith in your abilities. Without a humble but reasonable confidence in your own powers, you cannot be successful or happy. And that was by one of the old authors, Norman Vincent Peale. That's a good quote. Tough times don't last, tough people do, Robert Schuller. If you can dream it, you can do it, by Walt Disney. Man, talk about somebody, he was laughed at, turned down. Mickey Mouse, people didn't think it was such a big deal. And then look what it turned into. An empire for families just to go and be families with. Man, that was great. We took our kids to Disney shortly after Sharon and I got married. I think a year or two after we got married. And we had a ball. And we always said we'd go back. Well, maybe we'll go back with the grandkids sometime because the old kids, I don't care if they go or not. Tough. We'll take the grandbabies. That's more better. All right. Courage is one step ahead of fear, by Coleman Young. Everything you've ever, here's a great one. Everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear. What would we do if we didn't have a fear of failure? Oh my goodness, what a great statement. Oh, here's another one. Lance Armstrong. Now, whether you like Lance because of everything that's happened or not, he made this great statement, and I would say it's a great statement. Pain is temporary. Quitting lasts forever. Man, that's it. I've heard other people talk of similar things like that. So don't quit. Don't quit. All right, the pain you feel today will be the strength you feel tomorrow. And we don't know who said that. But here's a good one from Duke Ellington. Now listen, when I was a kid in high school, I played the saxophone and then switched to the tuba. Still do saxophone every now and then, and I need to get it fixed so I can get back in church with it. But I listen to jazz. Man, I love jazz. And whether it was big band, typical Benny Goodman, that kind of noise, that kind of sound, or Duke Ellington, man, I love Duke, or any of the other standalone jazz performers, soloists. But anyway, here's one by Duke Ellington. A problem is a chance for you to do your best. Wow, that's a great quote. All right, I'm going to give you one more, and then I'm going to be quiet. No, I'm going to give you two more. It's not about perfect, it's about effort. And that's by Jillian Michaels. So, hey, it's not about perfect, it's about effort. Can you imagine that it doesn't have to be perfect as long as you're doing your darndest to make it happen? That's a great one. All right, here we go. Last one I'm going to give you today is by the former president, Theodore Roosevelt. Believe you can, and you're halfway there. And that's a good one there. So many times our limitations are up here, and we don't need those limitations. So when you don't fear, and when you believe you can do it. Hey, that's all I've got time for today. I've got to get ready to head to the house and go see my queen. Listen, if you would like this document that I created for you, I've got it. And if you would like any of the other documents that I've given you in the past, especially about the computers and everything else, man, let me give them to you. Just give me a message. Say, hey, give me that PDF. But you got to be a little bit more specific, because otherwise I'll load you down with about, I think I got 13 or 14 of them right now, adding to them every day. But let me tell you, just a preview of what's coming up this week. Now, some of you may have heard my live yesterday. But today I'm going to tell you that my live for this week, 5 of them: Motivation Monday, which is today; Tech Tuesday, and this Tuesday specifically, I'm talking about the top 5. I did a poll of other IT pros like me and found out the top 5 antiviruses that are used on that they recommend for a home user on their Windows computer. I'm going to give you that tomorrow. Wednesday is all about Warrior Wednesday. And like I said yesterday, it may not necessarily be the warrior that we think of, whether it's the great Indian chief or the great, man, it could be anybody. I'm not necessarily talking about the military people or the police people or anything like that. In fact, I think my first Warrior Wednesday is going to be about a single mom of 4 kids, and she was a warrior. All right, that's Warrior Wednesday. Throwback Thursday will be something about the past and comparing it to today. I've given a couple of those already. One was about me going from 298 pounds to 186. That was a throwback. And then last week I gave you a Throwback Thursday about old technology, talking about DOS 622 and Windows 3.1 compared to Windows 10 today. And then Friday is going to be Fantastic Friday. Now, I'm not going to tell you about that one yet. You're going to have to find out. So, listen, if you want any of my stuff, I got it for you. If you want, hey, man, give me some of your good quotes. How about that? Use my place right here. Use this Facebook feed. Give me some of your good quotes. Make sure you give credit to whoever came up with it. And if you did, and it's a good one, I might even say, hey, so-and-so, John Derrick came up with this quote, or whoever it is. Anyway, give me a good quote. Leave it in the messages. Leave it in the whatever this thing, the comments here. And I am going to talk to you later. Be blessed. Have a fantastic afternoon. And as I'm so likely to tell you to do, let's listen to some Look At You Now.
Didn't show up, but you showed them all anyhow. You wouldn't slow down, now you're too slow to